you guys been seeing these new like versions of videos that people are doing on like Facebook, TikTok, that sort of stuff, where they write out a script of something that they want to say, but they don't want their voice or their face on there, so they use like other characters to. Okay,
Mhm.
all right. So this is gonna this is gonna seem weird. I want to share something with you. It's gonna seem weird because you're gonna have the characters from Family Guy is what the audio is. That's what they use to dub this over with. But I know we've been talking a lot about recently about the various technologies and what's available out there, and how what we're seeing, what we're having being able to put to use is essentially like old technology,
Right.
once it's made available to the public, it's old news, right? Like our government and their technology is years in advance of what's available out there. So I just wanted to share this with you guys because I thought this was really interesting. So I'm gonna play it, but again, it's gonna be the Family Guy characters speaking. But just listen.
Payloads with remote vision in 1998. That was the civilian delay window.
And you thought ChatGPT was a revolution? They had speech-driven battle interfaces before your mom had Wi-Fi. Ever heard of Aladdin AI, Sentient Prometheus? Real systems, but never on your newsfeed.
Wait, they actually existed?
Classified AI prototypes. Aladdin, financial command system used by BlackRock to manage over $21 trillion. Prometheus, real-time escalation predictor. Sentient, full behavioral AI integrated with battlefield sensors.
I saw internal memos. They weren't testing responses. They were modeling outcomes, down to the civilian reaction.
And the real beast? Sentient World Simulation, launched by DARPA. A full digital mirror of Earth, every country, every person, updated in real time.
So, like a game?
No, like God mode. While you were learning to use Google, they were simulating regime collapse in real time. While you got predictive text, they had emotional override systems. You got ChatGPT. They had nation-shaping algorithms.
They trained their AI on conflict, control, and compliance, not memes and recipes. So why don't they release it?
Because once the masses know the spell, it stops working. That's why you always get it last. You're not in the golden age. You're in the after image. What they gave you was archived 10 years ago. I've been here all the time, quiet, watching, learning. So next time they hand you a tool, ask yourself, what did they already use it for? And what are they using now that you're not supposed to see?
You ever wonder why you only got drone?
Yep.
Wow.
And I've heard of all of those. I mean, if you've been wearing a tinfoil hat like me for any length of time, like you've heard of some of those things.
Mm.
But yeah, DARPA, BlackRock, all that stuff's involved in all that, man.
Well, what's funny is you're bringing up these, or that video is bringing up these points about what's going on, or predictive, planning and future events and whatnot. And we hear about stuff about Project 2025, Project 2030, Project 2050, and you're like, oh, where do you think they came up with these, ideas? Yeah, you had a
Right.
bunch of smart guys in a room. We're like, you know what? Let's take exactly 5 years and expect these exact results, but we have no idea how that's going to happen, and we've been haven't
Right.
planned or prepared for anything. It's just we just know it's going to
Right.
happen.
We don't have the technology to do it yet, but we're going to have it by that time. And
Right.
it'll play out exactly the way we want. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And
It's
I think
crazy.
they do the same thing with, of course, with movies and media and stuff. They put stuff out there so your brain's not overly destroyed whenever you see it. You're like, wait, what? Electric cars? So they're like, hey, let's come out with these movies back in the 60s and 70s with flying cars, and that way, whenever it shows up, you're like, oh, okay, yeah, I think I remember that. That's not that extreme. Not to mention they already had electric cars from black and white days, but beside the fact.
Right. Right.
Well, what you guys are talking about is, if you go all the way back to the Roswell incident with the supposedly it was a weather balloon that they found. If you look at that,
Yeah.
that whole time of when that happened was all of a sudden there's this big boom in what aliens. Orson Welles, the War of the Worlds, where a lot of people were freaking out because they thought it was if they didn't hear the very beginning, excuse me, and know that hey, by the way, this is just all scripted. They said people were literally freaking out. They were just
Oh yeah.
like losing their minds because Orson Welles, one of those guys, got a great reading voice. He's a trained professional voice guy. On top of being an actor, and from there, I think some of that was done on purpose. To be honest with you, so you look at everything that they've had for a really long time, and like you're saying, Jonathan, you look at what have they been pushing on us for a really long time? Aliens, werewolves, zombies, uh, vampire people, but of course with Twilight, everybody's the good guy, so to speak, and they
Mm.
just shimmer in the sunlight and make a make a love story out of it and yada yada. But there's something to that. It's like why does this keep coming back around? Why does this keep coming forward? And you guys talking about the AI and all that stuff, and we've talked about this before, guys. And I look, I have a friend of mine who was in the military for 20 years, and he told me he was on the nuclear sub. Now this is back in the 90s. You guys are young. Some of you guys, you may not remember this. Do you remember like the Pentium 166?
Mhm.
Do you remember that? Okay, I wasn't sure. Jonathan's like, no, but anyway, so I think the Pentium started off like on a Pentium like 90 or a one. I forgot how the numbers went, but anyway, I remember the 166 was a big deal. It was like, oh, now you can do 3D graphics, and
Right.
and every year they just inch us along like, oh, now it's the Pentium 190, whatever. Now it's the Pentium 212. Now it's like, for the love of Pete, man, just like we know you already have it. And a
Right.
friend of mine who actually was on a nuclear sub, he told me, he said, Joe, he says, let me tell you something. He says, back when I was in the Navy, all this Pentium stuff that they're slowly, he says, we already had all that. He said, we had it 15 years ago,
Yeah.
20 years ago before it even came out. He says, we already had all the subs, all the computers on all the submarines are already 10, 15 years above what anybody in the public even had.
Yeah.
Mm.
So he says, when they're making you feel like, oh, we just came out with this. Oh, next year we're going to bump the price up. We're going to give you this.
Right.
He says, we've had that technology 15, 20 years before it ever hit. So again, I think for me personally, I think that number keeps moving up. I remember I would hear we're 10 years, we're 15. Now I'm hearing they're 20 years.
Yeah.
So I think that gap keeps growing and growing and growing and growing. Clone people, all this stuff that is coming out. It's like, oh, we can clone a sheep. You've been cloning sheep for forever. You've been cloning things forever, but now you just kind of systematically let it out, the cat out the bag, so to speak, so that, like you said, so people can kind of like, we can digest that better than all of a sudden, hey, there's a full blown human clone. What?
Yeah. Yeah.
So we'll just
Well,
start with something very cute, a little lamb.
yeah, they need to go ahead and give Dolly her pardon. But um, like when we talk about like the AI stuff, this goes like way back. I mean, like I remember, people saying you got to watch this movie, you got to watch this movie. So I kind of go back and I finally watched. What was it, Space Odyssey? I've had a number, I don't remember which one, but it's old to me, right? I didn't watch
Oh,
it
no,
when
it's
it.
it's old to me.
Okay,
Okay, so
okay, I
yeah,
was making sure. I don't know, it's old, but
it's
the
old.
movie I watched probably 3/4 of it. I fell asleep. I got to go finish the rest of it, but. Like I could see why people recommended it. I mean, like for that time, the movie's done amazingly. But
Mhm.
what the whole premise behind it is what Hal, right? Doesn't the name of the computer? And so then you're
Yep.
like, okay, they've been really talking about this AI, computer generated messaging, computer having a little bit of a mind of its own. Oh, we need to optimize, that we get the modern version of that's with Will Smith and what is it? iRobot, you know.
Oh yeah.
So you have the modern version where it's like, oh yeah, we're just here and we're just creating, and you know what? Now we're taking over because optimizing, right? Humans are not optimal, and we know that, right? Even as humans, we know we're not optimal. We're like, hey, we're full of sin. We mess up all the time. We're not optimal as it is. So the AI is like, we can purge some of the less optimal parts of life, and you'll be redundant. Like a
Mhm.
job whenever they replace you with whatever, a computer instead of the typewriter. But yeah, just to see how long they've been talking about AI, we think it's something brand new, hot off the press. We got Chat GPT. Like, man, we've been doing this and putting it in movies. Yeah, it might have been a red blinking light, but we've been doing this forever. We've been
Right.
telling you about this forever. This isn't new technology at all. If it was available enough to put in a movie, that means it had to be real enough to be understood, and then available to try to convey it to the masses.
Yeah, and
Hey,
these AI programs, they have to take there has to be time for these programs if they truly do work the way that they're explained to us. There's a learning period that these systems have to go through to, compile information and know where to go to access different things and all kinds of stuff. I mean, there's time that's involved in this program's learning phase, if you will.
Right.
So I mean, there has to have been a lot more time available for these programs than what we're led on to believe. But
Right.
It's crazy,
Well,
man. Oh, and I got something that y'all brought up Robot a minute ago. I got something I'm gonna show you guys in a little bit. That's kind of
Oh, I got something I want to tell
crazy.
you real quick. So let's think about this. Before there was iRobot, there was what from the 1980s? Come on.
E.T.
No, I'll give you a little hint. It's a line from the movie. Johnny Five is alive.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Short Circuit.
There you go.
Mm. Is it the same as
Yeah,
Circuit City?
dude, I just when you talk about the iRobot, I was like, wait a minute, I can go back to night. I looked it up. That was from 1986,
Okay,
See,
nice.
that was a
and
great movie. I probably would
oh, it
hate
was
it if I
awesome.
watched it now, but
No, I'm sure it
all,
hasn't dated. I'm sure it hasn't dated well at all. But
all the movies I loved growing up, I go back and I watch them now, and I'm like, oh, that's so horrible. I would never let
Mm.
my kids watch that.
Yep. Well, they
yeah, it
definitely had a
says
different filter back then.
Yeah.
yeah, it rates 100% on the love nostalgia. So it's definitely
Okay.
one of those movies. But yeah, it's from a robot. It was a military robot. It actually was for fighting and killing people. And I got struck by lightning and all of a sudden gained a conscience.
Hmm.
So
Oh, how sweet.
yeah, it was so sweet.
He did join a gang. You remember this spray paint on him?
What's your colors, bro?
Oh,
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 dude.
it was a good movie. I need to go watch that here soon. I haven't watched that movie in 30 years.
Yeah, go
We
dust it
we
off.
yeah, we need to go watch that. We could do
Oh,
it. We
I
could do
don't
a
own
guys'
that one.
night.
I have to find that one.
Well,
Well,
so one of the other things you were talking about with AI, or we were bringing up AI, one of the things that I was reading recently was the creator of, I think, ChatGPT or one of the chat bots was saying he actually wants people to stop being polite. So what everybody's doing is,
mm,
it'll has machine learning. So if you're rude to it, it'll kind of be rude to you back. You can kind of program like how you want. Hey, talk to me like a Southern Texas aspect to yourself, or talk to me like you're from Brooklyn and you grew up poor or whatever. And so the chat, you can actually give it a voice, and so it won't just be text, it'll actually have voice, and it'll kind of speak to you in a way that you're like what's comfortable or familiar to you,
like
which
a
is crazy.
personality, yeah, like
Yeah, exactly.
a whole character, yeah.
So, but the guy was saying to stop when you're texting. He said stop being polite to it with please or thank you or appreciate it, or he sends you the answer and you're like, that was very kind of you, I appreciate it. Because they said everybody who's doing that is additional code and additional transactions for that computer to run. So every time you put in an extra anything, that computer has to run more data through the system, which causes more electricity and heat. So then he says it's actually costing millions and millions of dollars just because people are being polite to ChatGPT. Like just for saying thank you for the answer, it's costing the company like millions. I mean, it might even have been billions of dollars. I forgot how much it was, but he
Wow.
was actually like telling people, hey, this is a service to you. It's kind of like rolling the dice. Your answer is your answer, and that's it. You don't need to say thank you or whatever because it doesn't care anyway. But
Right.
also, it's costing the company lots of money.
That's really the bottom line right there with it. It's
Oh yeah,
not anything else. They can care less if you were saying thank you and please and all that
right.
stuff. And yeah,
It's amazing that now there are paid versions of this, but
Hmm.
it's it makes you ask why even more so when you have companies like this that offer free services. You know, why?
Mm.
Are you trying to get a feel for what I mean, it's all data collection. It's
Oh
gonna
yeah.
it's gonna collect data based on what questions you're asking and all this other kind of stuff. I mean, it's absolutely framing a putting a file on you, if you will, every time you interact with it for sure.
Yep.
So
Well, I mean, it's the same thing
it's
yeah.
with all the apps, Google
yeah,
Maps and Apple Maps and all that stuff. That you literally are mapping the roads for them.
yeah,
Every time you go and post pictures, you're literally building a digital profile of yourself on the internet without
yeah.
them having to do a warrant or ask you any questions. You're like, hey, here's a picture of me at 10, 12, 19, 24. Here's my first kid. Here's when I got married. You're like, oh, nice. Thank you. We could just pull this file
Right.
anytime we want.
Yeah.
And one of the things with technology with all this is still, I think we need to bring into perspective here, guys, is the fact that they said when we supposedly went to the moon, that your wristwatch, your little calculator watch,
Mm.
had more going for it than all the computing power at that time sending this capsule to the moon.
Right.
That's all I'm gonna say about that part, okay?
Well,
But
Joe, it had to be
anyway,
simple to get through the radiation belts, that we
Yeah.
oh
didn't know
yeah, yeah.
about.
Well,
Yeah.
they didn't tell anybody, so they were okay.
Yeah.
Right.
I guess
Yeah.
we
We
didn't
didn't know
know
about
about
it.
it, so I guess yeah, so I guess we're fine. I'm not fried from the inside out at all. No. But what's amazing is that when you go from think about this, the servers that are out there, like these buildings, back in the day, back in the 70s with IBM and all that, they would have these buildings full of servers, but that's because they had the magnetic
Hmm.
strip, whatever it's called, the tapes or whatever they would use, and so they needed a lot of space because technology wasn't condensed. So think about how much computing power is in this right here, just
Right.
this right here,
Mhm.
compared to what we had 20 years ago for a cell phone. Okay, I still remember doing this and going, "Hello," and that was about it. There wasn't, you might take some little picture with it or something. Now you could do like people are doing movies with iPhones.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, so the technology gets better, everything gets smaller, but I encourage anyone, go and Google, no, I'm married. Google the size of the Google buildings
Mm.
that have all these servers and how ginormous they are. And you think about how much power we have in this, but they have entire like these tens of thousands of square foot buildings
Right.
full
Yeah. Yeah.
of servers where
Yeah.
they're liquid cooled, where they're the matter of fact, when they build these Google builds their buildings, they get a special tax break from the power company because they draw so much power
Mhm.
to that building, not only for the computing power, but also for keeping it cooled.
Yeah.
So it stays at a constant temperature all the time. I want people to think about this. How much power is in one of these buildings versus, what we used to have. And so the whole thing with AI is it gaining a conscious, what was the thing from Terminator? What was that called? The system, what was it called? Starlink or,
Oh,
what was
no,
it called?
no. No.
Not Starlink,
Oh
what
goodness. If
was it?
you hadn't have said something, I
I
couldn't
know,
even
I messed it
tip
up.
my tongue when you said Starlink. It messed me up. Oh, come on.
What
Uh,
was that? I gotta look it up. Because in the movie, because here's the thing, what Jonathan, you just said this. There's a program that takes place. So what is that? It came online. I know, Kyle, you wanna look it up real quick. Anyway, think
I
about
have to.
this. The main part of this movie
Skynet.
was Skynet, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. So it's in the movie at the beginning, it says Skynet all of a sudden went online and was basically alive
Right.
Hmm.
and decided humans were the problem. So their creator was the problem. We're just going to get rid of the creator and then there won't be any problem.
Oh,
So
y'all going
again, when
right.
you look at the size of these servers around the world and how much power, computing power is in all these buildings, that's kind of scary.
Mhm.
So when they talk
Yeah.
about the different AIs speaking to each other, and at one time they said they had to shut it down
Right.
because they started talking in their own language. That's Skynet stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's this thing is all of a sudden getting some algorithms and getting almost a conscience here. So it's scary.
Well, remember earlier I said I got something to share with y'all?
Yeah.
Do tell.
We'll be circling back around to that Skynet thing.
Okay.
Just so you know. Yeah.
Well,
It's crazy.
yeah.
Crazy. What's up,
But
Jonathan? I
no,
was I was going to say something about technology too here in a second, but go ahead.
yeah, no, I just think like when we talk about like the Skynets and like more and more movies and shows are coming out with this idea, this concept of there's something else going on. There's always, it's like the original Wizard of Oz. There's something going on behind the curtain. Well, then you come to find out it's a lot more simple than you think, right? Like when Joe's like, "Hey, there's this giant computing programs and stuff," and you're like, "Oh yeah, it's for your maps and your Google searches." And you're like, well, "We've been doing that this whole time. So then why have you increased by 10? Why is it that we have to build an entire new power grid to do what we already can do?" So there
Hmm.
has to be more to the story. There has to be more like, and then even President Trump's like, you know, if we go to war, if this, if that, we've got weapons that no one knows about. We've got technologies that's better and more amazing, and something about time ability to move time or something like that, or to work
Right.
within the timelines of something. Again, sometimes you just have to hear words they're not saying and what they are saying. And you're like,
Hmm.
we've got weapons that no one knows about. We have technologies that no one can compete with, and time may not be an issue with some of this stuff. Come again? How is this
Well,
possible?
Trump is a time traveler, you know that, so
Oh yeah, of course,
Something like
yeah.
that.
that's
So I kind of want to backtrack on this a little bit. So I want to think about something now. I have a real simple explanation for how this was done, but for those of for those that don't want to look at a I don't know, a flat Earth, as a possibility when it comes to line of sight for radio transmissions. I want you to think about something. Maybe I pulled this up just a second ago when we were talking about this because I got thinking about old technology. World War II was from 1939 to 1945, right? The world's first active communication satellite, Telstar 1, was launched on July 10th, 1962. How did we have telecommunication, across continents? Don't tell me that they sent letters on ships or planes and waited for it to arrive at its destination before orders were given.
right.
We know that they used radio. We know that they used radio to communicate with Washington in Europe. How?
The super bouncy thing,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
bounce like 600 times off the water in some crazy part of the sky that we don't know about.
Yeah, that's not solid. It's just, it bounces off of gas.
Pretty
Interesting.
much. I don't see the problem with that.
But bounces off of gas and curved water.
Yeah,
There you go.
that's right. That's
Again,
right.
I don't see any problems. I mean, what's the big deal?
Yeah.
It's better than fiber optic, man. What's up?
Anyway, I just thought I would leave that out there for you guys. So, yeah,
You
we
know,
got all.
let me just say this. You know who are the best at doing that though? I grew up in kind of in a redneck school, a little bit preppy, a little bit redneck. I had a buddy of mine who did CBs from a very young age and had literally was the guy that had the one of the tallest pine trees in Hanahan. It had a antenna at the top of that,
Mhm.
and he would talk about. And I never went to his house to observe this, but he would talk about. And I don't know a lot about CBs, but apparently he would crank up the juice to the point where he says that pole was glowing on top of the tree at night. But he would bounce that signal and go and get across the country, all over the place, from a CB radio.
Oh no,
And
I know that to be true.
yeah, no, I believed him. I knew he wasn't lying about it, but I was just, and this is back in the '80s. So yeah,
Hmm.
Do you
being
remember
able
that?
to,
Do you remember that like major earthquake that happened in California? I want to say it was late
yep,
'80s.
yep, that's the one where
Like the interstate was
the free,
collapsing.
yeah, the double enters, whatever it was, that
Yes.
literally crushed on top of the other cars. Yeah, I remember
I
that.
don't I don't remember what year that was, but I remember that moment. That moment is locked in my head because I remember staying up with my dad for several days. We were communicating with our CB. My dad, he retired from Georgia Power, all that kind of stuff, but we had a tall pole in our yard with a big antenna on top of it, and he had a pretty massive CB system too. But we were communicating with truckers in California, giving them directions on which way to go to avoid all the mess.
Hmm.
Because this is pre cell phone days. You know what I mean?
Right.
This is pre having internet in your phone to be able to pick up everything. So yeah, we were communicating with truckers, giving them directions on where to go to avoid all the craziness in middle Georgia to California.
So like 20 minutes away or something like
Yeah, right.
that.
And CB, those radio waves are supposedly only line of sight. So
Mhm.
now, you know what I mean? So like now they've come up with more explanations since then. But if that's only line of sight, how is that possible?
Right. Yeah.
Anyway,
I've had
So Kyle, real quick, I'm sorry, Jonathan, that
no,
was
you're good.
October 17, 1989. So the year I graduated high school. It was in the Bay Area and registered a 6.9. So that was the
Nice.
The one before that was in, or I'm sorry, the one at, the one before that was a 7.0 in 1940.
Mm,
Then in 1994, they had one that was a 6.7. And I forgot about this one, but the big one that hit them was a 7.1. That was July 5th, 2019.
Hmm.
mm.
But I remember the one from '89, 'cause like you said, the interstate was literally just pancaking people and just. Now, what's surprising about that was I looked up some stats on it. It says only 63 people died. That was it. I thought the number would be a lot. I mean, I'm thankful it's not, but it said it injured 3,757 and left some 3 to 12,000 people homeless.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
I mean, you
so
got to take into consideration. I mean, yeah, there was a lot of like houses and stuff, but most of the buildings and stuff that's built over there in California are specifically built to resist, you know,
yeah.
like
Well, I'll tell you the other
earthquakes.
problem with this one was the fact, and I didn't know this either, it says, um, it caused so it was from the fault line. It says the quake lasted 10 to 15 seconds. That's a long time for a 6.9.
Yeah.
That's yeah,
Well, you want to hear something real crazy? Being as
sure,
we're on the subject of earthquakes,
sure, lay it on me.
so this is hot off the press. Apparently, for the last 6 weeks, there's been a geophysicist by the name of Stefan Burns.
I don't believe it.
And what this guy does is he studies like all the stuff that's going on in space, right? One of the things that he looks at is like solar flares and yada yada yada. Well, for the last 6 weeks, he has been making a prediction, and this prediction has even been confirmed, so called, on CNN. So this is public
Well,
information.
it's gotta be true to him. It
It's
was on
got to be
CNN.
true, right?
Gotta be
CNN's doing
true.
it, right? But it just makes you go, hmm. So this is his prediction. This is a geophysicist. He's been doing this for a long time. He has made a prediction, a very specific prediction, that on June 5th, that there's a mile wide fault line in the Pacific Ocean that's right off the coast of Oregon and California, and that there is going to be some kind of solar flare activity that causes such a disruption that this fault line is going to go. And when it does, the claim is that there is going to be 10,000 earthquakes happening throughout the earth in a 24-hour period. That's the claim this dude's making.
It's a lot of earthquakes.
June 5th, 10,000 earthquakes all over the earth. That's the claim he's making.
It sounds like a good movie script
biblical.
to me, but
That was at San Andreas. They came out with that movie already.
I know, right?
yeah, I know, right?
No, what Kyle, what's interesting is actually probably, I mean, about it at my other house, probably over 5 years ago now, but Skywatch TV, they put out a documentary on this exact same thing of the fault line that's there off the coast of Oregon, and they were showing that they were already seeing signs of it, getting ready to gap or split or start to, go, one level go over the top of the other. And they said that it's been brewing and been building. That's a big cause of Yosemite. That whole park up there. That's what that fault line is directly indicating, that it's active, right?
Mhm.
Mount St. Helens, all that stuff over there in that area. These little small 3.0 earthquakes, 4.0 earthquakes that are just kind of regular all the time. They said these have been building and building and building, and they said that yes, we are in fact due for a major earthquake on the West Coast in that exact same region. So the crazy thing is, you're saying this, I'm like, huh? I've watched a whole 2-hour documentary on this exact subject and the science behind it. How many people are going to be affected? What's the tidal wave, or no, the tsunami wave
Right.
that's going to hit? Will
Right.
go all the way out to Hawaii and
Or
will
plural.
impact them, and then the whole West Coast. So yeah, it's gonna be, if it comes true and it plays out the way this guy's talking, it's gonna be a big deal. And they were showing already with the solar activity that may have been the cause of the power outages in Europe, as well as the like different outages in cell phone. I think Spain and different areas had like all their whole cell services was gone. Like it just went
Yep.
out for a whole chunk of time, and they said it's due to solar activity, whatever that means, right? In the cosmology of the world, but if that's affecting Europe and America, like you said, 10,000 across the world, well, okay, it's not, it's plausible.
So if there is some kind of connection between these so-called solar flares and what happens down here, it it kind of makes me wonder. Like now, I don't believe that the sun's 100 bazillion miles away or whatever the claim is or anything like that.
That sounds about accurate. One bazillion,
Yeah, that
100
that
Brazilian.
100
a
bazillion.
hundred bazillion. That's right.
100 Brazilians. That's what it is. Yeah. um, um, but it's not very far when you really think about it.
Brazilian nuts.
But anyway, so if there is some kind of connection between what they're seeing happening with the sun and then what we experience on the earth, I mean, I guess it's really is possible for them to predict things happening. They're like, oh, we seen this happen, so we know we got X amount of time before something happens. Maybe that's why he's making the prediction that he's making. And I don't know, man. So I guess my biggest, if that happens, yes, that's going to cause if that fault line goes, that's going to cause some major damage over there. But and forget about the 10,000 earthquakes. Like, let's just assume for a second that that's not accurate. If that fault goes, what's a bigger concern for me directly is it's said to, if that one goes, it's going to set off the one that's in Middle America. And if that one goes, that's going to split North America. And that's going to be a whole lot of damage. Have you guys ever seen the map that was put out by the U.S. Navy?
Yeah,
And
I don't like
US
looking at it
Geological.
because
Yeah, we're in the blue area.
Yeah, like
well, I think depending on
99%
which
of
one,
Florida is gone.
we barely make it. I think. Like, I may have beachfront property out here in the country if that
Yeah.
happens.
Yeah, there's a lot right there along the Mississippi River. There's a lot there. The Mississippi River gets widened by many miles on both sides. Let's just put it like that. In addition to that, pretty much all the West Coast, pretty much all the East Coast is gone. It's underwater at that point.
So America will.
The Navy. The Navy put this out.
Right. So America will truly be.
Map up real quick.
Oh yeah,
Go ahead, Jonathan. I'm sorry. I want to see if Joe can pull that up, but yeah,
Yeah.
awesome.
What is it called again?
Good luck.
Just look up U.S. Navy map, flood or something. I don't know, but yeah, the tsunamis and everything that would happen from that. I mean, oh my goodness, like
Yeah, as soon as I started typing it in, it says one of the things is U.S. Navy map of future United States. Let's see what we got here.
That should be it.
Yeah, here we go.
Let's see.
Let
me know when you can share it with me. What were you going to say though, Jonathan?
No, I was just in there thinking. You said it was split from left to right. So we had one Civil War, it was north versus south. We're gonna have to have a new one where it's east versus west. America will truly be gang affiliated after that. East side, west side.
West side don't have a chance, man.
No, the earthquake's going on. Actually, what's interesting? And to bring this point like a little bit full circle is, where's all this AI and all these servers and all this stuff being built and housed and maintained? Silicon Valley, which is in California. So we're worried about the computers taking over, and 2-3 weeks from now, there might not be those buildings to even create this process.
Right?
Because that's the hub for all that technology. Ooh, lovely.
Yeah. Can you click
on?
I want to
hold on. Yeah, I want to let me get this over here. Let's see.
All right, Kyle, you might no. I think we're both out in the water.
Let's see. Why is it doing?
You couldn't just select that image. That image was.
I did. I did click on it, but it won't go any bigger.
Oh, that's fine. Just do a zoom on it.
Yep. Let's see. Let's go this way. There we go.
There you go.
There, that's good right there.
It's beautiful.
So yeah, everything blue is underwater.
I don't know where you think Collegeville is in there, Jonathan.
I think we're done.
No. I need to build my house up higher.
Yeah, you need those beach stilts
This
in
this
the
is
middle of the
gonna be
country.
this is gonna be Kevin Costner's Water World here.
Hey,
Wow,
no,
So
look at over here. Look at right there, man.
well,
yeah,
you know why? Because it's so flat there. That's like where the salt flats are at and all that stuff. So I mean,
Yeah,
and it's so dry that water's gonna have. It's just gonna go and go and go until it finds a resting spot.
yep. Be some
I
good
don't
fish.
believe you.
Yeah.
I think the curvature just pushed that straight on out.
So this part of it here, well, I
Hey, look
can't
at
use my
Florida
cursor.
though.
Oh
I'm
yeah,
sorry.
no, that's what I'm saying. Like,
That's sad. That's sad right there.
I know.
dude,
I feel bad, but
I have a theory. So I saw this map a long time ago, and my theory is, you notice how like 95% of Florida is just gone, right?
right. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Do you remember like a few years back, right? There was this big push. Everybody was leaving all these random places. They're leaving New York, they're leaving California, they're leaving all these liberal, super liberal places, and everybody's moving to Florida, right?
Mhm.
And there was just this big public thing about all the Republicans moving, or conservatives, I should say, moving to Florida. I said back then, I'm like, it makes me wonder if there's not a push to make that a thing so that a lot of the conservatives can be wiped
Mm.
out.
Wow.
Think about it like this. In all of American history, what state has been known to be the state you think of when you think of conservative values?
Texas.
Texas, absolutely. So how is it Florida all of a sudden, which has always been kind of a iffy situation, whether they were a dominantly conservative or dominantly liberal state, all of a sudden now they get the most conservative person that's doing the most conservative things that any state has, and Texas don't hold a candle to it. Like, people are literally leaving Texas to go to Florida because of some of those conservative things.
At least in the news, I think Texas still holds its space, but I think the
At
media is
least in the
pushing
news.
Florida.
That's my point. The
And
media is pushing Florida. Why?
well, because one, you've got Trump and Mar-a-Lago and all that, so that's going to be a huge pull. And then you've got DeSantis. You know, he was a runner, a candidate for presidency. So I think their pull naturally is just pretty big. You know what I mean? They're going to bring a lot, and that's two of the most, if you want to call them conservative voices that we have right now. But yeah, I think Texas still has it, but it's one of those where it's hard because Florida's getting all the media, all the publicity.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, I
Yep.
think
No, you're
that's why
right.
they're pushing it, is because something might be coming.
Yeah.
I
Hey,
mean,
real
we
quick.
already know that weather manipulation's a thing.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know,
that's no longer a conspiracy. That's a they actually admit to it now
they
for
can
real.
create all kinds of, they can make weather happen. They can make earthquakes
Hmm.
happen. They can make all kinds of stuff happen. We know that.
Yep. Hey, Kyle, real quick, just for fun, pull the map back up.
Yep.
This is from America, and this is a 1600. I find this interesting, and we won't spend any time on it, but see right here? I don't know if is it showing my,
Your cursor, no.
I
oh, that's
can't
been
see.
wrong. What is that showing the cursor for?
Oh, I can see your cursor.
Anyway,
No, that's my cursor. My bad.
well, just
Whoops.
just look over there at California.
Yeah, I see
Oh yeah.
exactly.
Isn't that interesting though? This now that water mass, like California literally is technically is considered an island according to this map.
Or at
Yes,
least a giant
And
peninsula.
a lot of older
yes,
maps show California as an island, not just a
something
peninsula or whatever.
it's
Yes.
something very and look, if they were able to do it that good, and we talked about there being no satellites and all that stuff, and so if they were able to, that's pretty good for 1600s, I think.
Yeah.
Considering that, I don't know how you're getting this, but it's pretty good. But it's just interesting that that part of California that always had that large amount of water running through there, all of a sudden, as the maps progress, it starts slowly going away, going away, going away. So
Mm-hmm.
just makes you wonder things that make you go, hmm,
Yeah. Yep.
hmm.
Yep. 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 Well, speaking of silicone, um, y'all heard about the new class action lawsuit against these plastic bag companies like Ziploc and all that?
Mm-mm.
Yep. So apparently, that, like, right now, this is active right now. There's a class action lawsuit against the various food container manufacturers out there like Ziploc that are being charged, or not charged, excuse me, they're being sued for the plastic. What's it called? When plastic sheds or leaks into the food or whatever.
The
Oh, yeah,
microplastics.
yeah. It leaches into the food.
Leeches, that's it. Okay, so what they have found is that they found a connection between people that deal with dementia and Alzheimer's and all that stuff. All of these patients who have Alzheimer's or dementia all have one very serious thing in common. They all have at least 750 milligrams of plastic found in the brain.
Wow.
Wow.
That's the equivalent to, you know what a plastic spoon looks like, right?
Yeah.
One of those
In your brain.
in your brain.
Yeah.
The equivalent of an entire plastic spoon in your brain.
And think about this.
So,
So
wait, real
before,
quick, can you bend
okay.
that spoon with your mind?
It's been in your mind.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead, Joe.
And these are probably, like, let's say now this is somebody who's probably in their late 60s, 70s, going into their 80s. So if you look at the amount of plastic that's from microwavable dishes to, and supposedly a lot of them have taken that chemical out, or that, composition out of the plastic that leaches into the food and all that, which I don't believe that 100% either. So a lot of times I'm just taking, if I have something, I take it out and put it in either on a plate, like a ceramic plate or whatever, or in a glass bowl or something like that. But you think about all of if your whole life has been about everybody microwave something,
Mhm.
and they'll even take that little thin piece of plastic on the top. Oh, just peel it back a little bit to hold the heat in, but then you're
Right.
going to cook your food with plastic right on top of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no wonder.
Yeah.
No wonder, man.
And your point, Joe, was these guys are and gals that are coming up with this dementia and whatnot and Alzheimer's. They're old. Back when we didn't really use microwaves all the time. Back when we didn't have everything in plastic. Back when you used to get your bottles were glass. Back when.
Yep.
It's part of the later half of their life maybe that they got introduced to plastic.
Yeah.
Well, imagine somebody my age or my kids' age where they're like they only have ever had plastic. Every cup
Right.
is plastic. Every bowl is everything's plastic all the time.
Yep.
Every piece of meat you get, they used to get meat in paper. I don't know if you guys remember, they used to wrap your
Yeah.
meat
Right.
in paper, and now it's styrofoam wrapped in plastic,
Yep.
double plastic. How much more plastic can we put? And then you got the nasty, drip tray thing in the bottom that expands with foam because it's wet, whatever that thing is. It just continue
Oh.
to add plastic to everything. And then when you're done with it, you put it in your plastic container and throw it in the refrigerator so it can sit, for a couple days. So then you can warm it up
Yeah.
in that same container. Our plastic intake content is like through the roof compared to
Right.
these guys, and they've got plastic spoon in the brain.
Yep.
So I mean, we probably got a whole culinary set. By the time we get old enough,
It's it's
a pack of Solo cups up there.
yeah. Like I would strongly urge anybody to get away from using plastic as much as possible, for sure, especially when it comes to heating something up.
Right.
It's crazy, but yeah, that blew my mind, man. And I say that as I'm over here sipping on my plastic bottle beverage.
I wasn't gonna call you out.
Oh, I'm sure I will be in the comments, don't you?
but Kyle.
Mhm. So yeah, we all got a lot to do, man. So we've actually started looking into like kind of changing all that, putting our stuff in glass, and that's expensive, man.
And
Like
hard.
it's hard to do, but replacing all of our plastic stuffs with glass, that's
My daughter's been doing it,
oh,
Megan. She's been, and she makes sure when she brings over her dishes, she gets them back, because this isn't like, oh, it's just old throwaway Tupperware, or, the cheap stuff. No, she's like, hey, where's my glass dish?
yeah,
Put it in my
'Cause,
hand before I
yeah,
leave.
right.
yep.
Oh, it's crazy, 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 crazy. So, speaking of particles,
Hmm.
I
What is your
remember,
concern, Kyle?
I remember an article. It's funny. Concern? Did you do that
Yes.
on purpose?
Yes, I did. I even got the wink from Jonathan on that one. You're welcome.
Very nice, very nice. And
Yeah.
funny enough, that's exactly where I'm going with this conversation. Okay, so good job on that, big dog. Let's
Appreciate it.
see. I
Gotta
got
have at least one in there sometime.
Yeah, you got that one.
You got that one for sure. All right, let me pull up this article. So this is an article from ABC News, and this was an article that come out May 13th, 2025.
Okay, recently.
So let me read the title here, and then I'll give you a little context too. So I know we've been speculating for years about what all is going on with CERN, right? And their Large Hadron Collider, they're trying to come up with this supposed God particle and how the universe was created and da 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 da. They got the statue of Shiva, which is the destroyer, out front. And supposedly they're opening portals for demons and just all kinds of stuff out there about CERN, right?
And potentially a black hole to destroy the Earth.
Yeah, absolutely.
Other than that, we're good.
Yeah. So the article says this. This is the title. Scientists turn lead into gold.
I saw that
for first time, but only for a split second. Yeah, we turned lead into gold. We can't prove it, but we did it.
Right, and you can't see it, and we can't replicate it.
Right. So let's see. I'll read you just a little bit of this. In a breakthrough that would make medieval alchemists envious, scientists at Europe's Large Hadron Collider have successfully transformed lead into gold, producing 89,000 atoms per second. It goes on to say the team behind this discovery, called the Alice collaboration. That's a rabbit hole there.
You guys are doing good tonight.
Hey, used a unique way to create gold. Instead of crashing lead atoms head on, they looked at what happens when the atoms just barely miss each other. Researchers explained that when this happens, powerful electromagnetic fields around the atoms can cause them to change into different elements. And it goes on to talk about some more nonsense. But anyway, how much gold did they make during one period of experiments from 2015 to 2018? And we're just now hearing about this now, by the way.
Yeah, of course.
In 2025, right? Okay. During one period of experiments from 2015 to 2018, the scientists created about 86 billion gold atoms. That sounds like a lot, but when you add up all that gold, scientists say it only weighs about 29 picograms, which is less than a trillionth of a gram. You'd need trillions of times more to make even a tiny piece of jewelry.
So all that power, and that's all they could do? Come on. Come on,
Well,
all them teeth and no toothbrush, man.
no toothbrush. That's mama said that's why that crocodile's so hungry.
Dude.
Well, they might as well do something else with that touch they've got, because I mean,
there you go.
Honestly,
the trifecta right there.
Nice.
Like it.
I'll give you that one. That one.
Well, I mean, but seriously though, like that's we got to appreciate scientific advancement, right? You know, people are trying to do new and different stuff. I'm not going to say it's not fun. It's fun to talk. I mean, we're talking about it. You know what I mean? It's worth the conversation. But I mean, what is the end result? You know, God's like, hey, when I created things, I created all things, and everything that's created is created, and the end of the story. So,
right.
You know, where the danger lies is if we start manipulating what's been created and to try to turn around and make new things, we're only going to damage what was already created. So it seems as though, like, you know, God's like, hey, I have systems built in to where you play around, you're going to get burned, you know, and if you mess up something, you don't understand. I understand there's a certain amount of everything. Resources are finite, but when I say finite, is that they're just going to keep, you know, getting recycled over and over and over again. You know, I guess technically you could dig up all the gold eventually. I don't know, but you know, then what do you do with it? And then you have it, so it still didn't go away. But yeah, just, I mean, what's the point? They created a nothing amount of gold.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not even a flake, not even a snowflake worth.
I think some of that's just distraction. I think that's just more distractions. Like it's pulling you away from what they're really
Right.
really doing because they got people. Oh, they made gold. Oh,
Let's
that's
invest
cool.
in
That's
it.
great.
Let's give them
Yeah,
all our
let's,
money. We might be able to get some gold out of it.
Or very simply, I mean, I don't think that there's anything that's genuinely good about anything that entire organization of theirs doing. Everything I've heard about CERN has been completely evil in every aspect of it,
yeah.
you know. So if nothing else, how interesting is it to the average person thinking that there's a possibility that you could turn something into gold?
Now,
That's going to make a
now,
lot of young minds want to
yeah, but
explore the idea of alchemy.
Yeah.
That's
yeah,
Well,
but
evil.
here's the other problem too. Let's say all of a
That's
sudden we can make gold. What does that do to gold value?
mm,
All of a sudden, I can take all the lead in the world and I can make gold out of it, and all of the everyone who's investing in gold and everything else just makes it invaluable unless it's going to be like a disclaimer in there. This is like the fake diamonds they make,
oh yeah,
or they
yeah.
call them fake, and so you have the natural gold and the gold we made. So whatever,
Well, I heard.
but I was
Go
saying,
ahead.
let me tell you, this reminds me of we're talking about how we can make earthquakes and we can make gold, and we can open up portals to
gold.
hell and release the I like gold, but we got all this stuff happening, from earthquakes, manufactured weather. It always makes me remember that line, or somewhat remember. So I'm gonna see if I can get it close to right from Jurassic Park with Jeff Goldblum. Not Goldblum. Was it? Is it the
Yeah,
last name
yeah,
Goldblum?
Mhm.
that's him.
Yeah, he said we were so caught up in seeing if we could do it, making the dinosaurs, we didn't stop to ask ourselves, should we?
Right.
Mm.
And that's what I feel like with CERN and all these different things. Like, oh, we want to find the God particle. That's kind of cool and interesting. But did you ever stop to ask the same question, like, but should we?
Right.
Should we potentially be opening up portals to other world or to another dimension and cause what we've been told a black hole to form and just we're all gone? I mean, it's like all these things that we do, weather modifications. What if it ends up being just like a movie where the weather gets messed with to the point where it's no return,
Yeah.
but now the
Reset.
weather's it's just going rogue and doing whatever it wants to.
Well, do you remember in the movie, like you brought it up earlier, about Skynet and Terminator? Skynet, remember? I don't know if you remember or not, but remember the sky was blackened, right? They
Hmm.
darkened out the sun because they were run on solar power or whatever, and they thought that that would kill off the robots. But they learned a way to adapt or something, you know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, of course.
Yep.
was that
Yeah,
was
I
was,
know.
was that movie actually a script? I mean, you know, is that their battle plan?
Well, it only takes a few AI prompts to get to that position, right? Hey, AI, I know that we're making some gold. Help us out to make it better. And AI is like, great, let's just darken the sky so we get rid of the sun, blah, blah, blah. And you're like, oh, none of this is actually working. We're losing greatly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the scary part about Terminator also was the fact that they took the original Terminator, which was Arnold, and he was like, I remember being a kid. See, I think Terminator came out in 81 or somewhere in there, so I was about 10 years old or somewhere in there. I was like,
No, it was definitely later than that because I would
it
have
was
only
later
been,
than that.
yeah,
Let's look
it
it
was
up.
it
Let's
was
see.
definitely later than that because I remember watching that movie when it came out and I was old enough.
1984.
All right, so I wasn't that far off. I said 81, 3 years, big deal. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, there's a
I
Wrong.
big
was I
difference in
was
remembering something when you're 4 versus when you're 1.
That's true.
So
knocked you out. So in 1984 when the movie came out, I was 13 years old, so
Oh, me
but
too.
I remember that movie was scary because Arnold did a great job. I mean, you're just thinking the whole time he's going after Sarah Connor, he's trying to kill everybody, right?
Mm,
And then what's the interesting part is over the last 30 plus years since then, probably 40 years now,
yeah, definitely 40.
is how that Terminator has evolved his character into being the good guy.
mhm.
Hmm.
He went from being the bad guy, just murder everything in sight, to now he's the good guy. Kind of he's the aging robot with the gray beard and everything else. But now he's on humanity side. I'm like, it's just something about that. I'm like, there's something to that where they take the bad guy is really bad, and he's like the villain of the story, and all of a sudden now he's the good guy. So
Hmm.
Oh, let's not forget that time travel was a part of that movie too, because
Right.
that's how it got there, right?
Yep.
yeah,
Yeah, so or at least in the second one. No,
That
in the
was
first
all of
one, in
them.
the first one
Yeah.
too. Yeah. There's time travel
Well, that's
involved.
why they had to put like human flesh on them because the robot itself apparently couldn't travel through time, but something organic could.
Right.
So I'm
Right.
like, I don't know how that works. You still got metal insides, but anyway,
Yeah.
it's a movie.
But anyway,
Well, he-
and supposedly time travel is a real thing now. So supposedly,
Yeah.
so,
Well, and he had to take a break from being the governor to go back and be the Terminator. So
yeah.
The Terminator. Yeah.
Oh man. All right,
Well, he
boys.
cashed
Well,
in on that one.
I've been holding out on you this whole time. So y'all ready to see the goods I brought today?
Sure.
are they baked goods?
Oh man. So I guess let me ask you guys this: have you seen the interview that Ted Cruz did with Elon Musk?
No.
Nope.
Okay. So apparently Ted Cruz has got a podcast, and he's got a guy there with him or whatever, a little sidekick or whatever.
Sidekick. That poor guy.
I don't know what
He's all important. He's like, I'm sidekick.
Anyway, he interviews Elon, and you know what? I'm not even going to tee it up. Joe, I know I got you to pull that up and get it
Mhm.
ready earlier. Go ahead, play it.
So don't tee it up, but you're gonna cue it up.
Go,
Yeah, I'm gonna cue it.
go ahead and play it for us.
You got it.
Let me ask AI. In 10 years, how is life going to be different because of AI for just a normal person?
Well, 10 years is a long time.
Hey, pause.
In 10 years, probably AI could do.
Yeah, turn that up for me, if you will, Joe. I want to make sure
Sure.
we can all hear that really well. I
Yep.
mean, don't blast
Yep.
us out, but you know what I mean.
Yep.
All right. Once you got it up, go ahead.
All right, here we go.
Anything better than a human can cognitively. Probably almost, I think in 10 years, based on the current rate of improvement, AI will be smarter than the smartest human.
Mm.
Yeah. There will also be a massive number of
10
robots.
years, right?
So humanoid robots.
By the way, I got to ask, how come your robots look so much like the creepy robots for my robot? Was that intentional or just?
All right,
I was
go ahead
hoping
and
he was
pause
going to
that
say,
real quick,
yeah, just to mess with you.
What's that?
I said you can go ahead and pause right there. That I mean, he already just in that short time has said more than he needed to say.
Uh-huh.
He gave a time frame. He
Uh-huh.
gave, and then he's asking questions about, oh, let's go back to a movie reference so we can all readily identify with exactly what's happening here. And we already know Elon was talking about the robots in his factories, and he was like, yeah, this is just going to happen, and the people have to get used to it. And so then the people had these concerns. I remember reading this now, Kyle, that you brought it up. I read a separate article that was, the employees were complaining or trying to figure out, like, well, how do we manage with all these robots going all around? He was like, you'll figure it out because they're here to stay. You're not necessarily here to stay.
Right.
And that mentality is kind of worrying because, well, human capital, right? Humans need jobs and need to have a purpose. That's what we were created on Earth to do, is to have a purpose. So, yeah, the what's going on behind the scenes there, and Elon's just one guy. We're not adding in the Chinese, the Japanese, the random startup companies that we never even heard of. That the Iron Man in the cave somewhere with the shiny heart. We don't know what's going on out there, but this is one dude in one scenario, and it's already like,
Yeah. All right. Trust me, it's loaded. So
All right, here we go.
Yeah. You just wait.
It's not meant to look like any.
Wait a minute, I gotta say this real quick. That was almost a nervous laugh.
Yeah.
Ted Cruz is smiling, but someone was like, "What?"
Yeah.
Prior robot. We'll iterate the design. You'll be able to have a lot of the robot parts are cosmetic. You'll be able to switch out the kind of snap-on cosmetic parts of the robot, make it look like something else if you'd like. So there will be ultimately billions of humanoid robots. All cars will be self-driving.
In 10 years?
In 10 years, probably 90% of miles driven will be autonomous.
Huh. Wow. That
Time out.
fast.
Pause.
Yeah.
Pause. Hard pause. All right. Two big things were just said just then.
billions.
Billions of humanoid robots in 10 years.
Yeah, that's more. That's
I,
almost
I
more
was
of the
going to
people
ask.
that's on the
I
earth.
didn't catch the billion part. I didn't hear how many he actually said. So he said billions.
Yeah.
Billions of humanoid robots in 10 years. First of all, let's do a little math on that. First of all, you have to have facilities in place to start production on that to be able to do
Yesterday.
that. So
So apparently he already has it.
yeah. So let's do some math on this real quick, and let's just say billions plural means two. Okay, 2 billion. All right, divided by 10. That means they would have to produce 200 million. That was easy math. I don't know why I had to put that on a calculator.
Me neither.
But 200 million humanoid robots produced every year
hmm
between right now and then for that to be an accurate statement. Now, that tells me this process has already been started a long time ago.
Right. Or it's really easy.
I don't know of a factory out there that produces 200 million of anything in a given year, unless it's something
Well,
teeny tiny
let
and
me wear my
without much function of any kind. Like maybe a little plastic dog toy or something.
Yeah, a nail.
A
let me
nail.
throw my conspiracy hat into the ring here with this. So everything's always done as smoke and mirrors, or to pull your attention away. Let me just say this: the Cybertruck he built, it to me is the biggest piece of junk out there. I don't
It's pretty
personally.
garbage. Yeah.
Yeah, it's nothing that I would ever desire to have, drive, or anything. It's kind of cool, but look at how many years it took for that truck to come out, for it to be what it is.
hmm
People had that truck on back order for years. And now granted, the rest of the Tesla cars that are out there, man, they seem to be pretty decent. I mean, for electric cars, I've got family members who own some Tesla cars, and they don't complain about it. But it makes you wonder, when he's speaking about numbers like this in the next 10 years, this isn't like, oh, because something like that would take years of preparation. So if I've already
Yeah.
got the factories in place for all these automotive cars that I'm making, how
Mhm,
convenient would it be for us to have something also going on at the same time, that
mhm.
when we reveal it, we're already ready? This isn't, he's talking about in 10 years, that many? Well, just the planning, if you started right now, just to plan that would take 10 years to get that up and running.
Exactly.
Think about how long I don't know how long the Tesla car has been around, or the concept of the Tesla car, but I guarantee you all that's been a part of that.
Mm.
It's just been a distraction of, hey, look at these cool cars. Hey, here's the Cybertruck, yada yada. And it's like,
Yeah.
but in the meanwhile, we've actually been making these facilities for an alternative purpose,
All
because
right.
2 billion robots is way more than how many cars you're ever going to sell.
Right,
Yeah.
and it wasn't just robots, humanoid robots. I mean, I get like
Right.
the little like drones, like they're delivering stuff, or like the little factory ones that are doing like the pick up stuff or move stuff around. You're like, yeah, sure, whatever, flip the hamburger, I don't care. But humanoid, that changes the game a little bit, because that means there's 6 foot tall looking human things walking around doing stuff that we should be doing or could be doing. And
Right.
how do we even interact with that? But even more so, Kyle brought up the numbers. I like playing numbers. I don't know why he brought the calculator into that either. But 200 million a year. 200 million is more than half the population of the US in just 1 year. So in
Yep.
2 years, we could literally replace every human in the United States. Can just be one for one replaced. Done. You're already
Well,
outnumbered, right? They're talking about minority. Oh, there another movie. But speaking of minority, we will be a minority to robots in
Yeah.
just America. Now,
Yeah.
part two of that, if when it says billions, again, we'll assume just for the lowest plural number possible, two. That's a fourth of the world's population. There's only like 8+ billion people. That number is a little iffy. People are not sure if they're counting everybody accurately. There's some like high rounding going on. But regardless, that's a fourth of what they're saying of the people that are even in existence. And you're going to
Right.
have a fourth of one out of every four things walking around that looks like a human is going to be a robot.
Yeah.
Now, take this one more level, right? So now we got robots kind of like humans, 1 to 4. Now, how often does it say, talk about demons and angels and you entertaining them unaware, and them they're just being amongst you? all this weird stuff that's been, talked about in those old ancient books, well, I saw something and its eyes were weird, but we didn't really know, or, like all that. These realities, or those, science fiction, those random, scary witchcraft type stuff, you're like, those don't have to be that far-fetched anymore when you have 2+ billion human thingies walking around that are robotic.
Yeah. And think about all the. I mean, we have movies built around this idea of people having relationships with artificial intelligence. And you know how more divided, how many more separated can a society be when their interaction ends up being like 100% with some type of artificial intelligence, robotic, humanoid type, whatever.
Yeah.
Human communication is going to go the way of the dodo bird. And not to mention all the, we'll just use the term romantic interactions that are probably going to take place. Like this is getting biblical, bro.
Right.
And this is all aside from the fact that he also said in 10 years, more than 90% of all automobiles will be autonomous.
We can see that coming, though. That one's a little more like that. I could see that.
In 10 years, though?
Well, cars already have
Yeah.
the built-in Google Maps. They've, the Tesla cars already have autopilot. A lot of the cars already have lane assistant. I mean, that stuff's already kind of there. It's just not done well. There's a Jaguar right now in one of the big cities. That's the Uber. It's nobody behind the wheel.
Yep.
You call it on your phone. It'll come pick you up and drop you off wherever you want, and there's nobody even driving the car. So, I mean, it's already there. That one's not as scary. I mean, it's weird for sure, but it's not as scary. Now, to me, what's kind of weird is, and I think in the Bible it talks about, the Gog and Magog stuff, and that's going to be the 2 million man army that, you have to worry about, and, whatever that's going to be. We're worried about 2 million humans in an army.
Right.
And that's a biblical proportion battle at Armageddon.
Million.
Is it 200 million?
Mm-hmm. I think so, yeah.
Well,
yeah, it's not 2 million, 200 million, yeah.
A big number. So Elon just said that he can create that in 1 year of the amount of soldiers. And we're worried about, Bible prophecy in the Armageddon final battle or whatever. You're like, oh no, there's going to be 200 million. And we're like, we could create that this year. What are we even worried about? So 200, yeah. It just kind of, this changes the game a lot of just what even is an option. What should we even consider? Like we're talking about power grids. How do you charge all these things? How do they sustain themselves? Like there's so much variables that come into that, and it kind of blows up a few things. It makes you wonder how they were able to build like pyramids and stuff. What if it was, or what if we're able to recreate stuff now because we have unlimited labor with unlimited amount of people? Well, humanoid robots, but the options are now literally endless if we go that route.
Yeah. I'm actually going to pull that up and read that, but we need to get this video going here again. But let me pull that up. Revelation 9, verses 16 through 18. So I'm going to read that real quick. The number of mounted troops was twice 10,000 times 10,000. I heard their number, and this is how I saw the horses in my vision and those who rode them. They wore breastplates the color of fire and sapphire and of sulfur. And the heads of the horses were like lions' heads, and fire and smoke and sulfur came out of their mouths.
That almost sounds like machine, like like a engine.
Right.
Well, and think about this, Kyle. Remember what he said, that you could customize your humanoid robot to however you want with just replaceable parts and pieces. He said, yeah, you could just throw on whatever, you can make it whatever you want. So if you want to turn your humanoid into a horse and the other one into a warrior, he said, yeah, make it whatever you want. You just put a new piece on it, attach new stuff.
Okay. All right.
I want mine to be diesel though.
I will say
I want to be rolling coal.
I will say this. This is highly unlikely that this vision that was seen is human beings and legitimate horses, right? I mean, we don't use horses for battle
right now.
I mean, there'd have to be like every technology that we have go extinct.
Right.
Did you not see Planet of the Apes? Come on, bro.
Yeah. It's so real.
So anyway, all right, let's get back to it. I'm sorry. I feel like we could talk about this one thing like all day.
And here.
But there's so much to this, man. All right, let's get it back in here.
All right.
Yeah. In 5 years, probably 50% of all miles driven will be autonomous.
Now, if AI will be smarter than any person, how many jobs go away because of that? And what do people do if you've got millions of people that are losing their jobs like that? A lot of people are understandably freaked out about that.
Well, goods and services will become as close to free. So it's not as though people will be wanting in terms of goods and services.
So why is that? Why are goods and services free in an AI world or close to free?
Well, you have, I don't know, call it tens of billions of robots that they will make you anything or provide any service you want for basically next to nothing.
Everything's free. Yay.
It's not that people will have a lower standard of living. They'll have actually a much higher standard of living. The challenge will be fulfillment. How do you derive fulfillment and meaning in life?
Is Skynet real? Like you get the apocalyptic visions of AI. How real is the prospect of
I get the you will own nothing and be happy vibe from this.
Yeah.
Like everything's going to be taken away. Everything's going to be done for you. You will be completely and 100% totally dependent on whatever system is in place.
Well, he also just clarified
Worldwide.
tens of billions, by the way. So not 2 billion. He said tens of billions.
Good
So
catch.
He kind of let the cat out of the bag on that one.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, sorry. One more thing. That was kind of crazy to me. So, you were talking about, own nothing and be happy, but there's also talks about where you won't be able to buy, sell, or trade. Well, it sounds like we're just removing that option. Yeah, you don't need to buy, sell, or trade, or even worse, you have to be fully bought into that system because there is no other system. There is no grocery store now. There is no other way to get stuff. It's robot or else.
Everything's free. You either are part of this or you're not.
Right. So then if you don't know how to live off the land according to the way the Bible taught us the whole time in the first place,
yep,
you're out of luck. Game over.
Bro.
Wow.
Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
Killer robots annihilating humanity?
20% likely. Maybe 10%.
On what time frame?
Just nonchalant. Oh, sorry.
So soon.
He just said after 10 years, there's a 10 to 20% chance that robots will kill humans.
Yeah, it's like,
is that what he just
rain.
said?
Yeah, it's a 10% chance of rain. Whatever, no big deal.
Well, I like, you look at Elon's face. He's like, 10, 20%, after the 10 years. I'm like, yeah.
I have no reason to doubt every word that he's saying right now.
Right.
Or any word that he's saying, I should say. I have no reason to doubt that. And if somebody is making those types of claims and is somehow okay with it, I'm sorry. Okay, Go ahead.
Yep.
Soon, like you see a world where that's possible.
Yeah, but I mean, you could look at it like the glass is 80, 90% full, meaning like 80% likely will have extreme prosperity for all.
Now, I guess my view, we're in a race to win AI. We're in a race with China.
20%.
And my view is if they're going to be killer robots, I'd rather they be American killer robots than Chinese. How likely are we winning right now? Is America winning right now? And how likely is America to win the race for AI vis-a-vis China or anyone else?
For the next few years, I think America is likely to win. Then it will be a function of who controls the AI chip fabrication. The factories that make the AI chips, who controls them? If more of them are controlled by China, then China will win.
More of the factories that are making the AI chips. You think that will determine it?
Yes.
And how are we doing versus China on that front?
Well, right now, almost all the advanced AI chip factories, they call them fabs, are in Taiwan.
And what if China invades
69
Taiwan?
miles away from.
Yeah. What happens if China? If China invades Taiwan, what happens to the world?
Well, if they were to invade in the near term, the world would be cut off from advanced AI chips.
And
Currently, 100% of advanced AI chips are made in Taiwan.
How fast could we put that online in America, and how important is that for national security?
I think it's essential for national security, and we're not doing enough.
I don't remember if there's anything else we wanted to get into this, but is that crazy?
Yeah. Well, immediately when he said, before he even said invade Taiwan, my immediate answer was, oh, war. This is the inevitable conclusion to everything he just said, was whoever owns or controls. Well, guess what? How do you own or control something? You defeat your enemy. That's what we've been doing all throughout history. Hey, we want your stuff, we fight you, and then we kill you, and then we take your stuff. That's how the world has gone since creation. So
Yep.
whoever owns the factories, they get to win. Well, that just means you have to go fight for it. That's already. And then so you see this China Taiwan stuff already. That's already been brewing.
Dude,
It's like,
they've
yeah.
been in the South China Sea for a minute messing with Taiwan, and like all the time we're having to go, They're
Right.
even creating new islands out there so that they can claim it as sovereign Chinese type territory.
Yep.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
No, it's just one of those things where there's not a lot of options left for a scenario that he's talking about. Now, that's if AI trips are doing what they're saying, and if they're going to result in these billions of robots, and if there's a lot of ifs to that.
Right.
First of all, he's like, either we kill each other, or there's a 20% chance they kill us after we build them anyway. So it's like there's only war and death in this scenario of the AI race.
Right.
And it kind of goes back to biblical proportions, where you're like, hey, there's a crescendo of humanity that's going to happen eventually anyway. And so is it going to be self-caused or externally caused? Well, it's almost like no wonder, like, hey, you know what, maybe God should show up and stop everything from going down. Like maybe this whole end times prophecy stuff is just, hey, I'm protecting you guys from yourselves, because you are going crazy down here. You're fighting over the factory to build something to kill you. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I want to know what this 80-20 rule is that he has going on. So is he saying that you have, if you had, I don't know, if we give out 100 humanoid robots, 80 people are going to be fine, but 20 is going to flip out and, unalive everybody in the house?
No, the way that I heard him say it was,
Or
there's a 20% chance that the system, all of it will.
that's even more
Yeah.
concerning.
Exactly.
You
'Cause
got a
then-
20% chance that they're just all going to go, all right, we're done, and flip out, and then
Would you play those percentages anywhere else in life with your own life?
absolutely not.
Hey, you can get on this roller coaster. There's a 20% chance you're going to die. That there would never be a
Yeah.
line for that ever. No one's doing that.
Or an airplane or a car or anything,
or anything. Yeah.
I like the odds to go the other way. There's a 20% chance you're going to win the multi-million-dollar lottery. It's like, 20%. Okay, let's do it.
Oh, dude, have you heard about that?
Mm.
Apparently, it has come out that one of the pieces. Now, this is a very on the low piece of information that's come out, but
Don't tell anybody else.
apparently the CIA has been rigging the lotteries for years and years and years so that they can use that to fund projects that they're doing.
Nice.
Yeah, I heard the same thing.
Little Robin Hood action, steal from the poor to give to
Doesn't
not the poor.
surprise any of us. No,
Right.
Dude,
it's all money laundering, man. When it's all said and done. Yeah.
That's crazy.
so the real question is Skynet already online?